Hey parents, welcome to the Mommy Pod, where we keep it real about parenthood. The joy, the chaos, and everything in between. I'm your host, a single mom, educator, and everyday woman learning to give herself grace while chasing her dreams. Whether you're folding laundry, stuck in traffic, or sneaking in 5 minutes of peace, this space is your reminder that you're not alone. And you're doing better than you think. So, grab a coffee, grab a tea, grab a drink, take a deep breath, and let's get into today's episode. All right, welcome back, everyone. Today we're joined by Jessica, a mom, podcaster, author, life coach, grief coach, and full-time senior caseworker with over 20 years of experience in the social and human services field. Jessica is passionate about helping people know that they are not alone in whatever they may be struggling with, and reminding them that they can get through even the hardest seasons of life. As a single mom, Jessica has faced many challenges, but one of the most life-changing experiences came after the sudden passing of her younger sister in August of 2024. Since then, Jessica has become deeply passionate about helping others navigate grief while finding hope on the other side. Today, we are having an honest conversation about motherhood, loss, healing, and learning how to keep showing up when our heart is still hurting. Jessica, thank you so much for being here today.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here with you today.
For our listeners that are meeting you for the first time, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Of course. Well, like you said, I am a mom, I am a podcaster, I'm a life coach, I'm a grief coach. I do the work that I do to help people know that they aren't alone in whatever they're going through and give them hope to, that they can come out on the other side. I work with people to offer support on their grieving journeys, specifically those who have lost a sibling, because I find since losing my sister, I have found that there is not as much support in the area of grief as there is needed, but more specifically when it comes to sibling loss. So I am here to help others that are grieving, let them know that the things that they might be feeling that they think are strange or weird because other people are maybe making them feel that way aren't weird at all, that there is no right or wrong way to grieve, and that it doesn't ever end. You just kind of learn how to incorporate grieving into your life every day.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing. And I'm so sorry for your loss. Losing
Thank
a sibling
you.
is really, really hard. Losing anyone is hard, but I understand that
Yeah.
special connection and then losing a sibling. I lost my brother in 2021.
I'm
Um,
so sorry.
well, thank you. So, I just wanted to share that I can relate. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
so yeah, I want to acknowledge that you're lost. So thank you for being willing to talk to us about it and for being so personal. Can you tell
Of
us
course.
um about your sister and about your relationship?
Of course. My sister was 7 years younger than me, and I actually read this story at her celebration of life. When she was born, when my parents first brought her home from the hospital, she screamed the entire night. And I remember thinking to myself, like, can mom and dad return her? Because like all
Yeah.
she did was cry. I was like, is this what it's going to be like to be a big sister? But there's no return policy on siblings, so I wasn't able to do that. And when we were younger, her and I didn't have the greatest relationship because there was such a big age gap between us. When I was a teenager, she was a little kid. We didn't have things in common. She always wanted to be around me and my friends, and she was stealing my clothes and doing all the things that little sisters do. But that at that point in life were annoying. And people used to always tell me, when you guys get older, you're going to be best friends. And I was like, yeah, probably not. And then we grew up and we became adults and we did become best friends. And she was my person. She was a force. She loved with her whole entire heart. If she cared about you, you knew it, and everybody else around knew it. And if you messed with someone that she cared about, you were going to know that she knew that too. She was a fighter. She was strong-willed. She was very opinionated, and didn't really care whose feelings she hurt sometimes. But at the end of the day, she loved the people around her so strongly, and everybody that knew her still, it'll be 2 years in August, but we all still feel this tremendous loss of her not being here, because she did leave such an imprint on everyone that she knew.
Well, thank you for sharing. And you say that she was a force and she knew and she let everyone know. And now I think it's beautiful that her older sister is continuing to share that with everyone.
I will continue to share that for as long as I have breath in my lungs, because I don't ever want to forget her, and I don't want anyone else to forget that she was here either.
Yeah. Was there a moment where reality hit and you realized that life had changed forever after you had lost her?
Um, there was. I can't say that it happened immediately after she passed away,
Hmm.
because those first few weeks, it was like I was living in a fog. I kind of was on autopilot. I was just waking up every day and doing the things that I knew I needed to do to get through the day. But as the months went on, the most difficult time then for me was when I would wake up in the morning, and for like a split second, things would feel normal. And then it would hit me that she wasn't here. And it was those moments that were kind of like, okay, life is different now. It's never going to be the same as it was before. And it was difficult because grief does change you, loss changes you as a person, but you don't really realize how you lose the person, but you also lose the version of yourself that you were when that person was here. um I'm a big sister. I'm always going to be a big sister, but my little sister isn't here anymore. So my identity in being a big sister is completely different now than it was before. And I think learning how to accept that, and get to know the new version of who I am is something that, I'm still learning now, who that new version is, because every day is a new thing with something that might come up, or a memory that happens that triggers something in me that, I didn't really think that was ever going to happen. So yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And you mentioned grieving while being a mom has been one of the greatest challenges. And that is
Yeah.
something that so many of us can relate to. What did those early days look like?
So my son is a little bit older, which I am very grateful for that. For that, that if it had to happen, it happened when it did, because in a way, he was taking care of me a little bit. I didn't have an appetite. He was reminding me to eat. He was reminding me to make sure I was drinking. He was, comforting me when I was upset. And it was a weird sort of dynamic, because it's not his job to do that, but he was doing it because I was struggling to take care of myself in those first few days and weeks and even months after. And I think as moms, we don't really get the option to not be a mom and stop doing what we need to do as a mom, especially as a single mom, because there's no one else in the household to do those things if you stop doing them. So I think it was just a reminder of how life continues even when you experience grief and you experience loss, because I couldn't stop being a mom. I didn't have an option to do that. My son still needed me. Yes, he was older, but there's still things I have to do as a mom every day to maintain our household and maintain the things that are going on here. So it was hard. And I think the other thing too for me was managing my emotions, because I I think sometimes we struggle with wanting our children to see us sad and kind of protecting them from that. But I also think it's important to let our children see us sad, let them see us cry, let them see us grieve, because they are going to experience these things at some point in their lives too. And I mean, he was experiencing it with me. It was his aunt that passed away. But I think it's important to let children see us feel those feelings and know that, okay, it's okay to cry when I'm sad. It's okay to be angry about this. It's okay to feel whatever I'm feeling in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to talk about that because you said something that stood out to me about
Mm-hmm.
showing, like, not hiding grief from your children. But I want to backtrack a little bit
Yeah,
and just touch on how beautiful
sure.
it was that your son took care of you a little bit in those moments that he could. And I feel
Yeah,
like they show us the love that we give them. And
absolutely.
so your son showed you the love that you had been showing him and how to care for
Yeah.
others, and he cared for his mom, and I think that's really beautiful. Um, Especially when
Yeah.
we feel pressure to keep everything together when we feel like we want to fall apart.
Yeah. And as moms, we do that all the time, I think. Aside from something big like this happening, I do
Mhm.
feel like we have to be together and on point all the time because there are people depending on us to do that.
Right. And as a single mom, did grief feel heavier because there wasn't always space to completely break down?
Yeah. And it was hard too because you know, I have people that I can lean on and depend on, but like coming home at the end of the day, like from work, if I had a
Mhm.
rough day and I was really sad or really missing my sister, like there was nobody else here for me to kind of lean on
Yeah.
for even just the support of that, let alone all of the other things that need to be done on a day to day basis in the household. So that's definitely a difficult thing.
Right. In those moments where you feel like um there's just reminders and there's just nothing
Yeah.
left to give. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the conversation that I think that a lot of people need around this too is that what you said, I just circle back.
Mm-hmm.
Don't hide your grief from your children.
Yeah.
Why is that so important?
I think there's a lot of reasons why it's important. One of the most important reasons is because they will experience grief and loss in their lives as well. We all do, whether it's someone passing away, whether it's grieving a relationship, a friendship, a job, the future that you thought you were going to have. We all grieve things in our lives. And I think nobody teaches us how to do that. I don't think you can really teach someone how to grieve, but I think giving examples and showing them, sorry, I'm like fumbling over my words right now. um, Showing them that it is okay to feel sad. It is okay to cry. It is okay to be angry. But also on the flip side, too, letting them know that if they don't feel those things, that's also okay because everybody grieves differently. Everybody handles their feelings when it comes to grief differently. And I think sometimes we think like we're supposed to be sad or we're supposed to be angry or we're supposed to be crying all the time. And that's not the case for everybody. So being open about your feelings and not hiding them and thinking because then they think that they have to hide their feelings too. I think talking about the way that we're feeling is extremely important, especially raising boys because a lot of times too boys think that they can't cry and they can't show their emotions and they can't feel their feelings, and we're all human, we all have feelings, so every single one of us walking this earth needs to feel our feelings.
100%. And how do we let our kids see our emotions while still helping them feel safe? Because I feel like sometimes people feel like if they break down and their child sees this, their child's gonna break down or not feel safe or strong or whatever the case may be. So, do you have any advice on how we let our children see our emotions while still helping them feel safe?
I think being able to talk about the emotions too. So I can think of a handful of times when my son would see me crying, specifically as it relates to this topic with losing my sister. And if he asked me, "Are you okay?" I would be honest and tell him what was wrong, because we have to be able to talk about our feelings along with just displaying them. crying is one thing, but being able to verbalize what we're feeling. And maybe sometimes we don't even know what we're feeling. So just being able to say, I had a really bad day, or I'm really missing my sister right now, or, things like that. Because again, opening up those lines of communication so that children know it's okay to cry, but also okay to talk about whatever they might be feeling. Because especially as kids, I mean, and even as adults sometimes too, like I just said, we don't often know what that feeling is, but something feels off inside of us. So I think just being able to teach ways to communicate that we're feeling something, we might not know what it is, but something feels different, something feels off. So being able to talk about, when we're having a bad day or when things aren't going great is really important in being able to show our kids that it's normal. There's nothing wrong with any of those things.
Do your kids love stories, colors, castles, and adventures? Well, Princess Liliana and the Rainbow Castle is more than just a storybook. It's an interactive journey where little readers explore colors while building imagination. From the sunny yellows of the Golden Hall to the sparkling blue sapphire shoes that she wears. Each page bursts with magic. Plus, it comes with a coloring book and activity pages, so the fun continues even after the story. It's perfect for toddlers, preschoolers, and early readers. Turn rainy days into rainbow days with Princess Liliana and the Rainbow Castle. It's the perfect way to teach your little ones colors while sparkling their imagination. It's available now on Amazon KDP. Great, thank you. So many moms and dads feel like they have to have all the answers. Did grief teach you anything about letting go of perfection or letting go of having to know all the answers?
Yeah. I think it taught me that it is okay. Like it was a reminder that it is okay to not have all of the answers, because especially when it comes to grief, we don't have all of the answers a lot of the time. I mean, sometimes there are, answers, and it's you're like, okay, I can make sense of that. But then a lot of times you can't make sense of it. And I think that is an important reminder that there might not always be an answer, or even a reason. If there is an answer, it might not always make sense. And I think it just teaches our kids that we're human too. We're not perfect. We are still learning and growing as parents, just as they're learning and growing as children. And we have to remember that too. I have to remind myself that a lot too, is that this is the first time I'm doing all the things that I'm doing with my son, and giving ourselves grace as parents to remember that we've never done this before. And even when you have more than one child, it's a different experience. So you might go in thinking, oh, I got this. I can do this. I've done it before. And then this child is completely different than the first child that you had. And you feel completely lost. And like, you're doing it for the first time. So I think just remembering that we're also human, and we're going to make mistakes, and every day isn't going to be perfect. And there's no such thing as a perfect mom or dad. Doing the best that you can is what makes you the best mom or dad that you are.
Oh, that's really good. I believe that. Yes.
Thank you.
So you shared advice that really resonated with me. Give yourself grace,
Mm-hmm.
accept help, ask for help, focus on what you can control, and forgive yourself. Why do you think
Yes.
so many of us struggle so much with giving ourselves grace?
I think it's so much easier for us to give other people grace than it is ourselves. And I don't really know if I have an answer as to why that is. I think that maybe it's because we struggle ourselves with accepting that we do have imperfections, because I think throughout life we've been conditioned to think that we have to show up in the world perfectly and everything has to be done right. And if you make a mistake, there's something wrong with you. And none of that stuff is true. Making mistakes and being imperfect and stumbling along the way is part of life. That's how we learn, that's how we grow. So I think it's really important. And it's not always easy, but I think it's really important in those moments when we are struggling to remember to give ourselves grace and maybe take a step back and say to ourselves, like, if one of my friends or family were coming to me with this type of a situation, what would I say to them? What kind of support would I offer to them? And do that same thing for yourself.
Ah, that's good. Turn it around for yourself. Do it for yourself.
Yeah.
All right. And then asking for help can be difficult. Why do you
Mm-hmm.
think so many of us feel guilty needing support?
Um, I know for me, and obviously I know that this may not apply to everyone, but I'm sure there's someone out there listening that this will resonate with. I know that for me, it's difficult to ask for help because I'm the kind of person that then feels like I have to do something for that person. And that's not the case. And again, when I think that way, I try to flip it around because I help other people and I never expect anything in return from them. So I think remembering that you give out so much and you do so much for other people that it is okay to accept things and not have to give something in return. Everything in life isn't necessarily an exchange, and I think offering help or support to someone doesn't always have to be like that. And just remembering that in those moments, that it's okay to just accept and receive sometimes, because at some point down the road there may be a time when you can reciprocate that help or that guidance or support to someone else. So I guess in the end it kind of is reciprocal, but not necessarily in the moment. So I think it's important for us to remember that it is okay to allow other people to help us, and it's necessary too. I don't really know why people struggle with that. But I do notice that I know it's not just me that struggles with accepting help from others. So I wish I had a better answer to that question.
Oh, that's a good answer. Thank you. And then, what advice would you give moms who feel isolated in their grief right now, who don't feel like they can um ask for help?
I, I would say I know that sometimes people really shy away from online communities and things like that, but I have connected with some amazing people in the online world when it comes to grief. I would say search for groups like that in your area. Reach out to counseling agencies in your area. See if there are any in-person groups or support networks that you can get involved in. I mean, I know a lot of people do feel alone in their grief, and the reality is they're not. There are so many other people out there who are going through something very similar. They're going through loss. They need support, and I think just sometimes it's hard to take that step to reach out and to try to find it. But there is support out there, even if it is just someone in a Facebook group that you might meet that you can chat with on Messenger here and there when you're having a bad day. I think being open to those types of things, because unexpectedly some great connections and beautiful relationships can come from that, and then that is the support that you need and the other person probably does too.
Yes, just reach out. And there's so many different communities and groups online that, like you mentioned,
Yeah,
that is so
yeah.
true in all different platforms, whether it's Substack or Facebook
Mm-hmm.
or Instagram
Yep.
or TikTok. You can get your own community in any of those places if you just
Yeah.
look and filter out the negative comments.
Yeah, yes, because unfortunately they're going to be everywhere, but
Yeah. Well, Jessica, what's one thing that you hope our listeners can remember after hearing your story?
I hope that they remember that no matter what happens in their lives, they can get through it, they can overcome it, and that it might not be pretty, and you're probably going to stumble, like I said earlier, along the way. But that's part of life, and those moments, the most difficult moments, really teach us the most priceless lessons. And there is grief is difficult, it's very messy, it's very unpredictable, but there really is a lot of beauty that can be found if you just keep your eyes and your mind and your heart open to it.
It's really true. That's so good. And Jessica, where can our listeners connect with you and learn more about your work? And
Yes. So I do have an Instagram for my podcast. It's at unapologetically_overcoming. I also have a Facebook for the podcast too. That is Unapologetically Overcoming the Podcast. And then my website is www.unapologeticlifecoachingllc.com. So the life coaching stuff is it's about like goal setting and mindset transformation and gratitude practices. I am really big myself on gratitude practices, and I think sometimes we don't really recognize how much gratitude can shift things in our lives. Focusing on the positives instead of focusing on the negatives is a huge game changer in life. And I myself wish I learned that earlier in life, because things probably would have been a lot different for me if I had. So there's that part. And then I also do grief coaching stuff too. I offer support for other people who are grieving, specifically sibling loss, but I will work with anyone who is grieving. And I do have a virtual bi-weekly sibling loss group that I do. It's every other Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's a beautiful group of people that come together. Sometimes we do cry and there are tears, but there are groups where we have a lot of laughter and fun conversations about our siblings and, just about things that are going on in our everyday lives.
great. Thank you so much. I will definitely put all of your information in our show notes. And I hope that our listeners that are grieving can reach out to you and utilize your services and know that they're not alone.
Absolutely. My inbox is always open. I tell people that all the time. Anyone can message me at any time, and I will respond to them.
Amazing. Before we go, I just want to say thank you. The Mommy Pod is built in the middle of real life. Work, kids, laundry, rebuilding, and dreaming. And every time you listen, share, or support what we create here, it truly matters. If this episode spoke to you, one of the best ways to keep this podcast going is by supporting our Mommy Pod products. From our children's books and activity books to our calming sprays and digital downloads designed for moms and parents and families. Everything you purchase goes directly back into keeping the show alive. And if you can't purchase right now, sharing this episode with another parent means just as much. Thank you for being here.